seconds in. Stand by, all cameras. Ready with slow motion and ice with the camera. Stand by, video tape, and rolling in less than 5, 2, 1. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Every Now and Then. My name is Brian Smith, and tonight is the 54th anniversary of the very first game of Monday Night Football. The first game was September 21st, 1970. This is September 23rd, 2024. I remember that day very well. I remember that game. That had been the talk of the town, and when we found out that it was going to be the Browns, of course, that had us very interested in that game. So I want to give you some backstory, of course, about that game and how exciting it was, that it was the dawn of a new era, really. And it was a different time in 1970. The AFL had battled for 10 years and finally had parity, they thought, with the NFL. So the NFL finally gave in and said, we're going to have one major league, the American Football Conference and the National Football Conference. It was a classic battle that ended with both leagues coming together. Now, in hindsight, I wish that the AFL would have just stayed the AFL. I think they conceded and they gave in. They would have probably been greater than the NFL, but they ended up going into one league, which I think watered it down and ruined the competition, because it was a great competition, the two leagues against each other. But it is what it is. The Jets, of course, were the defending champions, having won the Super Bowl the year before, and the Browns had been a powerhouse for many years. But getting back on a personal level to September 21st, 1970, I was still living at home. I was 12 years old. I wouldn't be 13 until another month. We lived at 329 South 8th Street in a very quaint town of Upper Sandusky, Ohio. My dad was 37 at the time. He would not turn 38 until a month later. My brother Jeff, I remember him watching the game with me. He was 11. And my Uncle Dale, who lived in Upper Sandusky, he joined us. And Dale was probably, I would say, in his early 30s watching the game. He came by himself. He was a great uncle, one of the great people of my life, but he was at the game. So that was very interesting, having us over. Rick and Randy, I don't remember them watching the game. They may have. They would have been 8 years old at that time. Kyle was not yet born. My mother would have been 34 years old, younger than my son Marcus is now, which makes it hard to believe. But the history of Monday Night Football, this was not the first game the NFL tried on Monday Night Football. They had done it in the 60s, but it just didn't work. And the commissioner, Roselle, was looking for something to get attendance up and to really make a move with attendance and the revenue of NFL. So the way it came about, there was negotiations in 1969, really, is when it started, where NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle, he envisioned the possibility of playing at least one game a week during prime time that could be viewed by a greater television audience, because really the NFL had Sunday and that was it. Saturday was college football. Friday was high school. There was no Monday Night Football, believe it or not, in 1960s. So it didn't work before. Had done some games in the 60s that it just didn't It did not work out at that time. So following the merger of the two leagues in 1970, negotiations began. Now, originally it was with the two major networks, NBC and CBS. He wanted a Monday night deal, but NBC and CBS were both very reluctant. They did not want to disturb their regular program schedule. They had the number one song or shows at that time, I Love Lucy, and there were many other great shows, Gunsmoke on CBS. So because of this, the hesitancy of NBC and CBS to join the negotiations, Roselle went to the lowest rated of the three networks, ABC. But just to show you the time, ABC was also reluctant. They thought it was a very risky venture. It wasn't going to work because it had failed before in the 60s. It was only after Roselle used the threat of signing a deal with an independent network, believe it or not, huge sports network that was owned by Howard Hughes, that ABC said, nope, we'll call your bluff and we'll do the scheduled games. Even then, it was Roselle was afraid that the games would be blacked out and it would severely damage the ratings. After the final contract of Monday Night Football was signed, ABC sports producer Roone Arledge immediately saw possibilities for this program. He did some things that had never been done before. Number one, he wanted to make it an entertainment spectacle, not just a simple football broadcast. He hired Chet Forty, who would serve as director of the program for over 22 years. Arledge also ordered twice the usual number of cameras to cover the game. And he did something that had never really been done before. He went from a two-man broadcasting booth to three. And he also used extensive graphic design within the show as well as instant replay.
From Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, two powers in professional football meet for the... As members of the new American Football Conference of the National Football League, the New York Jets, led by the passing wizardry of Joe Namath, and the Cleveland Browns, led by the power running of Leroy Kelly. This ABC Sports Exclusive is brought to you by Marlboro Filter Cigarettes. Come to where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro Country. By Ford and your Ford dealer, who invite you to come in and test drive the 1971 Ford, the cars with the better ideas. And by Goodyear, the only makers of long-wearing polyglass tires.
It is a hot, sultry, almost windless night here at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, where the Browns will play host to the New York Jets. And here at midfield on the gridiron itself, as we await the opening kickoff, we will see two teams, two of the outstanding teams in professional football. Each accorded a chance to reach the Super Bowl, each an Eastern Division champion in its respective league a year ago. This is what back in September of...
Again, I have a very vivid memory of this game. September 21st, 1970, 54 years ago. We were living in a house that I still think about in Upper Sandusky, a town that I will someday probably retire in. And we had a nice living room as you came through the front door and went immediately to your left. We had a very nice living room quarters there, and Dad had the TV on the west side in the corner. And I cannot remember, I think we did have color TV at this time, and that was a new thing back then. And of course, the promise was that every game on Monday Night Football would be a color game. But Dale was there, and he was excited about the game. He probably did not have a color TV. That was a luxury back in the day. And Dad sat in his usual chair in the corner. We had one of those big TVs that was a floor model, and me and Jeff watched the games. It had been a nice day that day, and I remember the game being kind of a sultry game anyway. And again, Mother was probably in the other room cooking or had some snacks for us. Don't quite remember that, 54 years ago. But the team was very interesting. Roone Arledge was looking for a lightning rod to garner attention. He, first of all, hired controversial New York City sportscaster Howard Cosell, who's known mainly as a boxing commentator. He wanted Kurt Gowdy, tried to draw him in. Then he tried to get Vin Scully. Neither one would take the chance to go to ABC because it was the third ranked show network, and they just didn't feel like it was going to last. So Jack Buck was also considered, but Jack Buck had an anger issue. He was not treated by ABC well during an earlier stint in the network, so he left. And so he had the job, but he just said, nope, I want nothing to do with ABC. I'm sure he regretted that later. So his original choice then, Frank Gifford, also couldn't make it. He was unavailable. He was under contract for CBS Sports for one more year. However, Gifford suggested former Dallas Cowboy quarterback Don Meredith, who had just retired, and that set the stage for years of those fireworks that we would hear between the often pompous Howard Cosell and the rather laid-back Don Meredith. But it meant good TV. It meant memorable TV. So the first game, again on ABC, number 3 network, the Jets and the Browns. Why the Jets and the Browns? Well, first of all, Rozelle and Roone Arledge, they wanted a huge television audience, and it doesn't get any better in that market, especially at that time, than New York. The Jets were the defending champions, and they had Broadway Joe Namath, to this day one of my favorite football players of all time. The Browns owner, Art Modell, was from New York, and he was a TV executive. He was on the committees that helped bring about the merger and so forth, so he wanted a part of the action. Now, the advertisers for that very first game charged $65,000 per minute to ABC for that game. That proved to be a bargain when the contest ended up having a 33% share of the viewing audience. So we're going to have more about that as we go along. Let's get back now to the game. Joe Namath did not have a very good first half, and Joe talked about that during a interview that he had.
I have good memories of playing on Monday night because my teams didn't fare well.
And the ball game for the second half is underway
As the game started for the second half, this happened. Homer Jones.
In the fourth quarter, Cleveland led 24-14 as Joe Namath and the Jets fought their way back. Joe to throw. He's going deep into the corner for Sterling. First down, New York at their own 18-yard line. 47 seconds to play. The Browns lead 24-21. Before more than 85,000 people, Chicago almost gets Namath. The pass is intercepted. It is intercepted by number 52, Billy Andrews. Touchdown, and Joe comes back on the field. Here's a depressed Joe Namath.
And I remember that well. It was a depressed Joe Namath. Joe had this to say after the game.
With a tough losses. I made a very poor throw, and it was intercepted by a linebacker, and we lose the game. It was
One of the trademarks of Monday Night Football was a music cue used during the opening teasers of each program. And that was something that I loved to listen to. And when that came on, we knew that we were going to be in for a tremendous game. Now, Cosell's presence initially caused Henry Ford II, that's the chairman of Ford Motor Company, one of the sponsors at that time, to ask for his removal. ABC said, no, we're not doing that. And Ford had a change of heart once the show's ratings were made public. So that was our very first instance with watching one of the most memorable games in the history of TV. The first Monday Night Football game. And it was a great memory for me as we were in a home that I've always loved. I had one of my favorite uncles, Uncle Dale, come over. Got to watch the game with my dad and my brother Jeff. ABC, of course, has been on for over 50 years now. 1971, Frank Gifford became available. Arledge brought him to ABC to serve as a play-by-play announcer. Keith Jackson, he returned to broadcasting college football. He became the voice of college football. And really, that's when you really loved listening and watching football, the Monday Night Football crew, especially from 1971 to 85. I don't even watch football really on Mondays anymore. It's just become another so-so, run-of-the-mill type game. But those early days, those early years were very exciting to watch. Through the years, the teams changed. And, of course, sports kind of lost something for me. But I still go back to that very first game, 54 years ago this week. This is a Monday. That game was also on a Monday. Some beautiful memories for me as I look back. So every now and then we go back in time to recall, remember, reminisce, and relive some of the great moments of the history of the world in sports and my family. I want to thank you for listening, and we'll see you again down the road.